Coming up on today's edition of Origins, Orphan Genes Puzzle with Dr. Paul Nelson.
Well, orphan genes are sequences of DNA that code for protein, but they have no apparent relatives. That is, when you align them, you can't find any matches in the genetic dictionaries of life, and they create a real puzzle for evolution. The work of this man, Carl Woese, he's dead now, he died a few years ago, but he was a molecular biologist at the University of Illinois and very prominent member of the National Academy of Sciences. And towards the end of his career, he was quite outspoken to say biology has to go beyond what he called the doctrine of common descent. And that capital D there, that's not a typo. He used that word in a sense of something standing in the way of scientific understanding.
Was he referring to Darwin's theory when he said those words?
He was referring to that single tree picture where all of life springs from what's called the last universal common ancestor, sort of your ultimate grandparent and mine. What Woese was saying is that single tree picture has broken apart at the bottom. The so-called last universal common ancestor, or LUCA, as it's often abbreviated, never existed. And there must have been multiple trees that came to be independently of each other early in the history of life. So this is what I just said. Before the mid-1990s and that DNA sequencing technology, we had no idea. We had no idea just how diverse things are. And one of the phenomena, if you will, that's causing this dictionary to grow so rapidly is what are known as orphan genes. These are genes that are found in a single species. You look in another species, they're not there. In fact, you can take these genes and compare them to the whole of life, and you don't find any matches. That's why they're called orphans, because their putative evolutionary parents can't be found. But as you look at the total number of orphans, they vastly exceed the shared genes. So some genes are shared between species, but the orphans in total number greatly exceed that. In fact, as these authors say in Germany, the number is much greater than that for known gene families. And we find them everywhere, in enormous numbers. So this little creature, the water flea, Daphnia, had its genome sequenced recently, and 36% of its genes show no homology, that is, no similarity to genes in GenBank or other databases. Over a third of its genes are found just in this creature. And these genes aren't just peripheral players. All right, salamanders, many species can regenerate their limbs. It's a remarkable feature, right? Mm-hmm. Limb regeneration in salamanders is apparently mediated by an orphan gene. But when they compare that gene to other amphibians or to other animals, they don't find it elsewhere. So this key feature of this species is found just in that species, and the gene that does it, and its protein product, appears to be just in these guys. So I'm very, very excited about this because it's a place where the predictions of intelligent design and the predictions of Darwinian theory radically diverge.
What do evolutionists say about the orphan gene?
It's a major puzzle. It's a major puzzle, currently unsolved, and it's something I get very enthusiastic about because, frankly, I think it's a place where new discoveries in science are lending great support to an intelligent design picture of life. Now, there are more details to work out, but I think it's tremendously exciting.